Garang de Mabior, the man who dreamed of a new Sudan. What if one man could change the course of an entire nation's history? What if his vision could unite a war-torn land, only to be cut short in a mysterious tragedy? Garang de Mabior was more than a rebel leader. He was a visionary, a warrior, and the architect of South Sudan's long journey to independence. From humble beginnings as a Dinka cattle herder, to studying in Iowa, USA, to leading the Sudan People's Liberation Army, SPLA. For over 2 decades, Garang's life was a tale of determination, war, and unfinished dreams. But was his tragic death in 2005 an accident, or something more sinister? And what would South Sudan look like today if he had lived? Join us as we dive deep into his life, struggles, and legacy. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment with your thoughts. Was Garang's death conspiracy? Could he have saved South Sudan from later conflicts? Let's discuss below. Early life and education, 1945 to 1969. Birth and childhood. Garang de Mabior was born on June 23, 1945, in Wangulei, Twic East County, Wangulei State, in what was an Anglo-Egyptian Sudan. His parents belonged to the Dinka Boer, a subgroup of the Dinka people, who were cattle herders and agriculturalists. The role of cattle in his upbringing. Among the Dinka, cattle are central to identity, economy, and social structure. Garang, like other Dinka boys, grew up herding cattle, learning survival skills, and absorbing cultural values of leadership, endurance, and responsibility. Early loss of parents. Garang was orphaned at a young age and raised by extended family members, which shaped his resilience. Christian and animist influences. The Dinka combined traditional animist beliefs with Christianity, which later influenced Garang's inclusive political philosophy, education, and intellectual development. Garang's academic excellence was unusual for Southern Sudanese youth at the time, as most lacked access to formal education due to systemic neglect by the northern-dominated Sudanese government. Education path. 1. Tunj Primary School, among the few schools available in southern Sudan. 2. Busing Secondary School, Rumbek. Here, he distinguished himself as an outstanding student. 3. Rumbek Senior Secondary School, one of the most prestigious schools in the South at the time. In 1962, Garang's brilliance earned him a scholarship to Grinnell College in Iowa, USA, where he studied economics and agriculture. Political awakening in the U.S. Exposed to African liberation movements, influenced by Nkrumah, Nyerere, and Kenyatta. Became aware of racial discrimination and global struggles of African nations. Later, Garang pursued a master's degree and Ph.D. in agricultural economics at Iowa State University. First Sudanese Civil War, 1955 to 1972, and Garang's early military career. The Anyanya movement and Southern grievances. The First Sudanese Civil War, 1955 to 1972, was sparked by the North's Arab-Muslim dominance over the South's African Christian population, marginalization of the South in education, economy, and governance. The Anyanya movement led the armed struggle for Southern independence. Garang's entry into the war in 1969 left his Ph.D. studies to join Anyanya in 1969, fought in rural guerrilla warfare, learning the tactics he would later refine. The Addis Ababa Agreement, 1972. After 17 years of war, a peace deal was reached. Southern Sudan was granted limited autonomy. Anyanya fighters were integrated into the Sudanese army. Garang, along with other rebels, was absorbed into the Sudanese army, rising to the rank of colonel. The formation of SPLM/A and the Second Sudanese Civil War, 1983 to 2005. Betrayal of the South in Nyerire's Islamic laws, 1983. In 1983, Sudanese President Jafar Nyerere dissolved Southern autonomy and imposed Sharia law nationwide, including the Christian and animist South. Southern Sudanese soldiers in Boer mutinied, refusing to be transferred to northern controlled areas. Garang's defection and the birth of SPLM/A, sent by the government to quell the Boer mutiny. Garang defected and took command of mutineers. He formed the Sudan People's Liberation Movement, SPLM, and its military wing, the Sudan People's Liberation Army, SPLA. Garang's ideology, the New Sudan Vision. Unlike earlier separatist leaders, Garang initially opposed full secession. He believed in 1. A united but reformed Sudan, where all citizens had equal rights, regardless of ethnicity or religion. 2. A secular state, opposed to Khartoum's Islamic policies. 3. A socialist and developmentalist approach, prioritizing agriculture and infrastructure. However, as the war continued, he gradually shifted toward supporting South Sudanese independence. The Second Sudanese Civil War, a brutal struggle, 1983 to 2005. Key phases of the war. Early victories. 1983 to 1986, SPLA controlled large areas of southern Sudan. Ethiopian support 1980s, 1991. Garang was backed by Ethiopian dictator Mengistu Haile Mariam, who provided weapons and training. Internal SPLA splits, 1991. Riek Machar and Lam Akal defected, citing Garang's authoritarian leadership. This led to SPLA infighting and ethnic massacres. International involvement. The war drew in Uganda, Libya, Ethiopia, and Western nations at different times. Khartoum's government armed militias to attack civilians in the south. Garang's leadership style. 1. Military genius. His guerrilla tactics allowed SPLA to survive decades of war. 2. Charismatic diplomat. He secured funding and arms from Uganda, the U.S., and African allies. 3. Brutal to dissenters. He arrested, tortured, and killed rivals within SPLA. The Comprehensive Peace Agreement, CPA, and the Road to Peace, 2005. After years of war, international pressure forced Sudan's President Omar al-Bashir to negotiate. Key provisions of the CPA, 2005. South Sudan gained autonomy for 6 years, 2005 to 2011. A referendum for full independence was scheduled for 2011. Oil revenue was to be shared between North and South. Garang becomes Sudan's vice president July 2005. On July 9, 2005, Garang was sworn in as first vice president of Sudan and president of Southern Sudan. He was seen as the bridge between North and South. Mysterious death. Helicopter crash, July 30th, 2005. Just 21 days after taking office, Garang died in a helicopter crash in southern Sudan's Imatong Mountains while returning from a meeting with Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni. Conspiracy theories surrounding his death. 1. Khartoum government plot. Some believed Omar al-Bashir ordered his assassination. 2. Internal SPLM power struggle. Possible involvement of rivals like Salva Kiir. 3. Foreign intelligence agencies. Some suspected CIA or Mossad involvement. 4. Accident theory. The official report claimed bad weather and pilot error caused the crash. Legacy and impact. Positive contributions. Heavy checkmark father of South Sudanese independence. Heavy checkmark visionary leader who could unify diverse groups. Heavy checkmark architect of the peace agreement that led to independence. Controversies and failures. Crossmark authoritarian leadership within SPLM. Crossmark failed to prevent SPLA's internal divisions. Crossmark did not prepare South Sudan for governance. Final thoughts. What if Garang had lived? Would Garang have prevented South Sudan's post-independence civil wars? Many believe yes. His leadership and unity-building skills were unmatched. Others argue no, given the deep ethnic divisions. Regardless, Garang remains a legendary figure whose vision for a new Sudan still influences African politics today.